Don't say nothing. I'm sick of that shit.
What if the billions we've invested in solving this crisis have only made the problem worse? This, my friends, is the painful reality at the core of California's homeless crisis. A story of good intentions lost in bureaucracy where every dollar spent raised more doubts than answers. If you're here because you care about how tax dollars are spent, American politics and whether leaders like Governor Newsom are truly fulfilling their promises, then stick around.
Deep gratitude to the voters of California that entrusted us with the biggest investments of any state in American history. This is the most exciting work that's happening in the United States of America.
We're taking a deep dive today, breaking down the numbers, the programs, and the human cost involved. And if this strikes a chord, go ahead and hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments on what you'd change, and subscribe for more honest discussions on the issues that keep us awake at night. Let's get started. The origin of the $120,000 figure, a simple but revealing calculation. Between 2018 and 2023, California dedicated $24 billion to address homelessness, a considerable investment aimed at solving an escalating crisis. Yet, when you break this down across the roughly 200,000 people experiencing homelessness during this time, it amounts to about $120,000 per person over 5 years. This number doesn't indicate direct cash transfers to individuals on the streets, but instead reflects the per capita expenditure meant to tackle homelessness. To dive deeper, using a 2019 starting point of 151,000 homeless Californians, the Hoover Institution estimates this amount at $159,000 per person, enough to purchase a modest home in many areas of the country. Despite this considerable investment, the number of homeless people has only continued to climb. From 151,000 in 2019, the homeless population rose by 20%, reaching more than 181,000 by 2023. This concerning trend challenges the assumption that such a large sum should have eased the crisis. While homelessness in California is most evident in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, it is part of a broader national problem. California is home to about 1/3 of the entire country's homeless population, highlighting the extent to which this issue is ingrained in American society. It begs the question, if $120,000 per person spread out over 5 years could purchase a modest home, could it lift someone from the edge of homelessness? Or would deeper, more complex challenges keep them from staying above water?
They told us that they were going to put us in a motel room for 7 days, and that within that 7 days that they'll be back to take us to move straight into apartments and give us housing that was like from a program Step Up or something like that.
Right.
But what they ended up doing was they put us in a motel for 7 days, and they never came back. And then once the 7 days were up, we were kicked back into the streets.
California's funding for homelessness grew substantially over time, from $2.3 billion in the 2018-19 fiscal year to $3.8 billion in 2020 and 21, driven by pandemic relief and a growing realization that inaction was no longer viable. However, by 2024-25, the state faced a $45 billion budget shortfall, leading to a cut in homelessness funding to $2.5 billion. Emergency services for the chronically homeless already cost roughly $50,000 per person per year, considering hospital stays, jail time, and other reactive measures. The $120,000 figure has become central in debates about the homeless industrial complex, a term used by critics to describe the network of nonprofits, consultants, and bureaucrats allegedly profiting from the persistence of homelessness instead of solving it. The absence of clear oversight and performance tracking has allowed funds to be dispersed across many initiatives with no tangible results. In 2024, California's homeless population surpassed 187,000, but the crisis remains unsolved. To truly tackle this issue, we must shift the focus from the amount spent to how effectively it's being utilized. We must ensure that funding is allocated to sustainable, measurable solutions that provide lasting relief to those who need it most. What was the money supposed to fund key programs and breakdown? California has poured a staggering $24 billion into fighting homelessness between 2018 and 2023 with the goal of providing permanent housing and comprehensive support services. The core of this initiative has been the Housing First model, which prioritizes stable housing first, followed by essential services such as counseling and addiction treatment. However, despite these significant investments, the outcomes have been mixed. The homelessness crisis continues to worsen, leading us to ask, with all this money spent, why hasn't the crisis improved? What's truly happening behind the numbers?
And I can honestly say that I believe that the people that are responsible for the homeless funding have been misappropriating the funding for years, and nobody's ever blown the whistle because nobody really cares to stand up for this city.
One of the flagship initiatives, Project Homekey, aimed to transform hotels and motels into affordable housing, with $3.6 billion allocated for this effort. At an average of $154,000 per unit, this was considered a more cost-effective option compared to new construction. Thousands of homes were created, but the lack of long-term tracking makes it challenging to evaluate the program's effectiveness. In cities like Los Angeles, where homelessness continues to rise, we need to question, is this initiative tackling the underlying causes of homelessness, such as addiction and mental health issues? Or are we simply providing short-term relief with no long-lasting solution? Another major program, the Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program, HHA, allocated around $3 billion to support local shelters, eviction prevention, and outreach. However, much of this funding remains unallocated, creating significant gaps in services across different regions. While HHAP has helped some families avoid eviction, it struggles to assist the chronically homeless, particularly those dealing with severe addiction or mental health issues. Can eviction prevention alone really address the complexity of homelessness? What's missing in this approach? The Encampment Resolution Fund, ERF, with ongoing funding of $1 billion, was designed to clear homeless encampments and offer temporary shelter. It has dismantled thousands of encampments, but critics argue it fails to offer long-term housing solutions and often displaces people without providing stable alternatives. With no clear tracking of data, how can we truly measure the success of this program? Are we simply shifting people around without solving the core problem? Despite these initiatives, the numbers tell a troubling story. A 2024 state audit revealed significant gaps in tracking outcomes and measuring the impact of these funds. While programs like HAAP have had some success in preventing homelessness, the overall number of unhoused individuals continues to grow. If all this money is being spent, why aren't we seeing the expected results? Are we just throwing money at the problem without understanding its real nature? A major driver of the ongoing crisis is the fentanyl epidemic. In California, overdose deaths among the homeless have skyrocketed, with fentanyl being involved in over 70% of these deaths. This brings up a tough question. Can housing alone solve the issue of homelessness when addiction and mental health issues remain unaddressed? If we don't integrate addiction treatment into housing solutions, are we truly helping those who need it most? California's approach, while well-meaning, has yet to deliver lasting results. It raises crucial questions. Are we investing in the right programs? Are we accurately measuring the impact? How can we ensure that the money spent is truly making a difference? For real progress, funding must be better targeted, and programs must be assessed for their long-term effectiveness. The question we all need to reflect on is, how can we build a system that not only houses people, but genuinely helps them rebuild their lives? The mystery deepens. Where did the money go? Evidence of waste and fraud. Despite the vast sums allocated to California's homelessness crisis, the results remain unclear. The state's spending, amounting to billions, is marred by waste fraud and a lack of accountability, leaving taxpayers wondering where their money has truly gone.
Don't say no, you are mine.
California's response to homelessness was marked by a flurry of well-intentioned programs. However, a 2024 audit exposed a concerning truth. There has been a significant lack of consistent oversight, leading to massive inefficiencies. While Governor Gavin Newsom created the Housing Accountability Unit in 2024 to address these concerns, it came too late to prevent the mismanagement that had already taken place. In 2021, the California Interagency Council on Homelessness ceased tracking outcomes, leaving billions of dollars unaccounted for. This lack of accountability created a perfect environment for waste and fraud. For instance, in San Francisco, Providence House was forced to pay $1 million in restitution due to fraudulent invoices. Similarly, in Los Angeles, a federal investigation uncovered $2.3 billion in mismanaged funds. The Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, LAHSA, misused 40% of a previous $1.2 billion allocation on non-essential costs, like consultants producing only 117 housing units, a far cry from the grand promises that were made. Nonprofit organizations intended to be part of the solution have also been tainted by scandal. HomeRise. Another nonprofit paid its executives over $200,000 in bonuses while cutting services to the homeless. This has led to accusations that some nonprofits are more focused on making a profit than actually solving homelessness. In Los Angeles, the CEO of LAHSA resigned amid allegations of reckless spending, and a federal judge had to order an audit track the missing funds. Beyond financial mismanagement, the ongoing fentanyl crisis has further complicated the problem. In Orange County, the overdose death rate among the homeless surged by 50 from 2020 to 2023, with fentanyl linked to 74 of those deaths. The funds intended to help the homeless often end up being wasted or diverted, worsening the very problem they were meant to fix. In some cases, the money designated for housing and services is consumed by inefficiency or fraud, while the homeless continue to suffer. The real question is, if $120,000 was allocated to help each person, why is the crisis worsening rather than improving? Despite the promises made, the money has not led to meaningful change. The state's inability to track outcomes and manage funds effectively has allowed waste to thrive. The frustration is evident. For every dollar spent on the homeless for, go into the system. The continued lack of oversight has created a systemic issue where those in charge profit from the persistence of the problem. This situation serves as a reminder that without accountability and strong oversight, even the most well-intended efforts can turn into wasteful cycles of failure. California's homelessness crisis requires more than just financial investment. It calls for true accountability and transparency. It is time to demand that every dollar spent makes a real difference, rather than lining the pockets of consultants and bureaucrats. Only then can we hope to truly address homelessness in California and across America.
So there's a lot of
Broader
questions
implications
about
and
whether
why
they
it
go to the
persists.
bathroom.
The $120,000 allocated per homeless individual in California is not just a budget entry. It's a glaring symbol of a crisis that continues to grow despite billions spent its effects rippling far beyond Sacramento's influence. This is not only California's battle, it reflects a national issue with homelessness in America reaching nearly 770,000 individuals in 2024, a record 18% increase from the previous year. California carries a significant portion of this burden, with over 187,000 people experiencing homelessness by early 2025, about a quarter of the nation's total. However, preliminary figures suggest a slower 3% rise statewide, with positive trends in areas like Los Angeles County, where unsheltered numbers dropped by 9.5%, and San Diego, which saw a 13.5% decline, showing that focused efforts can make a difference. The causes are entrenched. Housing prices are soaring, with the median home price reaching $884,000 in 2025, and rents consuming half of many people's incomes, pushing 1 in 3 households toward the brink of poverty, adding 10,000 new homeless each year. Local zoning laws and resistance to affordable housing create barriers, locking in a cycle where the dream of stability slips further away. Mental health challenges and addiction, exacerbated by fentanyl's grip, worsen the despair. In Los Angeles County, fentanyl was responsible for 70% of overdose deaths among the homeless through 2023, though a national 27% drop in overdose deaths in 2024 offers hope, driven by the wider distribution of naloxone. Still, when combined with methamphetamine in 71% of fatal overdoses, fentanyl turns potential aid into futility. Raising the question, can 120,000 truly rebuild lives, or does it simply disappear into the black hole of addiction?
Thank you, man.
This crisis is not limited to California alone. New York's struggles with migrants and Seattle's encampment issues highlight shared systemic failures worsened by the looming 13% reduction in federal grants. Yet there are successes to point to, such as Napa County's steady declines and Sonoma's 23% reduction to 1,952 unhoused individuals, proving that targeted efforts can yield results. Still, misaligned incentives persist, with nonprofits focusing more on securing funding than on making real impact, and politicians touting financial figures without concrete results. To change this, California must prioritize building affordable housing, integrate addiction and mental health care into every shelter, and demand clear, transparent metrics. Only with these deliberate adjustments can the nation transform this phantom sum into a solid foundation for lasting change.
14 shirts.
Calls for reform, charting a path forward. California finds itself at a pivotal moment in addressing its homelessness crisis, with audits pointing to the urgent need for substantial reform. The 2024 state audit advocates for annual public reports detailing spending and outcomes with a focus on transparency and accountability. As the state enters 2025, it must move beyond superficial solutions and concentrate on more holistic approaches, such as implementing blockchain technology for fund tracking, ensuring that no money is squandered or lost to fraudulent invoices. Essential reforms should involve incorporating mental health services in every shelter, widely distributing naloxone to fight fentanyl overdoses, and pushing through zoning changes to increase affordable housing. Experts recommend combining housing treatment and research in one unified system to address the complex needs of the unhoused population. The urban alchemy model, which utilizes formerly incarcerated individuals as navigators, serves as an example of how trauma-informed community-based approaches can foster trust and provide better support to those in need. On the fentanyl front, California's National Guard has seized substantial amounts of fentanyl, but efforts must go further upstream with enhanced border control and more targeted outreach.
Definitely.
The investigation into the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, LAHSA, underscores the necessity for stricter oversight and audits of nonprofits, ensuring that funds are used effectively and that executive salaries align with public service values.
I'm tired.
Politically, California's leaders need to go beyond mere rhetoric. Governor Newsom's Housing Accountability Unit must implement more robust measures, including clawbacks for fraud and safeguarding funding for programs like HAP, which, despite facing cuts, has successfully assisted thousands. At the national level, reform efforts should include expanding emergency solutions grants and reinstating the Interagency Council to improve coordination between federal and state agencies. Real reform demands a collaborative approach with faith-based groups, businesses, and local communities all playing a role in the process. By prioritizing transparency, focusing on prevention, and leveraging data-driven strategies, California can create a more sustainable system to assist those in need. The journey toward reform may be gradual, but it must be intentional, ensuring that every dollar spent translates into meaningful long-term change. Conclusion. Ultimately, the $120,000 mystery unfolds not as a condemnation, but as a lament for well-meaning but misguided intentions for funds scattered without purpose for lives lost in the haze of fentanyl.
Bagels, bananas, fruit, all back there.
California's story, interwoven with homelessness, and America's larger narrative, echoes a timeless truth. Compassion without strategy is but a breeze through vacant shelters. Yet within the quiet promise of reform, integrated care, unwavering accountability, and deep-rooted commitment lies the potential for redemption. Let us nurture it with patience and insight, so that every darkened corner may one day shine with the lasting glow of hope.